We're all set.
All right, everyone, I think we're ready to begin calling the case of Marx versus Sony's Rooftop. I want to make sure that everyone has off both the audio and camera besides the contestants. It appears looking at the chat room that has been done. And so I think we're ready to proceed. My name is Aiden Welsh. I'll be your presiding judge for today. Can we start off with appearances from both sides, beginning with the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon. My name is Montana Love, and I'm here with my co-counsel, Ms. Kinsey Clark.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Together, we represent the plaintiff in today's proceedings, Ms. Ethel Marx, on behalf of her deceased daughter, Jessica Marx.
Hello, Your Honor. My name is Sydney Gaskins. Today, I'm joined by my co-counsel and good friend, Mr. Thomas Kiley.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon to you both.
Together, we represent the defendant in today's case, Sonny's Rooftop Bar, going to be represented here in court today by the owner, Sonny Mehta.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
A few pretrial matters from the plaintiff, Your Honor.
Yes, absolutely.
First, we'd move to constructively invoke Rule 603, which swears in all witnesses.
Any objection to that from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right, consider it done.
And then we'd also move to invoke Rule 615, which in this case would only sequester our witness, Mr. Morgan Levin.
Understood. Defense, you have a party representative sitting at counsel table?
That's right, Your Honor.
Understood. Okay, Rule 615 is granted.
Yes, Your Honor. And then we just ask for your preferences about screen sharing documents. Would you like for us to ask permission before sharing documents or to just share them as they come out throughout trial?
Please just share them as they come out throughout trial.
Yes, Your Honor. And with that, the plaintiff is ready to go.
Excellent. Anything from the defense?
No, Your Honor, we're also ready to go.
All right, then I think we should proceed to opening statements. Before we do so, everyone should make sure that they are in speaker view. And the way that you can do that is you select the button on the upper right-hand corner of your screen. And one of the options you'll have is speaker view instead of gallery view. Please make sure that's selected. I'll give everyone a moment to do that, and then we can begin starting with the plaintiff.
Let me know when you're ready, Your Honor.
All right, please proceed.
May it please the court. They knew it was dangerous, but they kept pouring drinks. On March 24th, 2019, Jessica Marx was 19 years old. She went out to a bar with her best friend. She was on spring break, just looking to have a good time. 3 hours later, she was dead. Because members of that jury, that bar made dangerous decisions. To learn that on that night, they poured her drink after drink until she was out of control, until she couldn't make decisions on her own. To learn that they kept pouring her drinks even after they knew she was dangerously intoxicated. To learn that even though they knew just how drunk she was, even though they knew it wasn't safe, the staff at that bar let her drive away without saying a word. And to learn that drive led to the crash that ended her life. They knew it was dangerous, but they kept pouring drinks. That's why we're here today. Because today we brought a claim of wrongful death against the defendant, Sonny's Rooftop Bar. Because here in California, if you serve a minor alcohol and keep serving them after they're clearly drunk, well, you're responsible for the danger you put them in. That means today that we have to show you by a preponderance of the evidence that Jessica Marx was underage, that she hadn't turned 21 yet. We have to show you the defendant served her drinks and continued to do so after she was obviously intoxicated. And we have to show you that because of that decision, Jessica Marx lost her life. Now, I want to be really clear about something. It doesn't matter whether Sonny's bar knew that Jessica Marx was underage when they served her. All that matters is that she was underage And today, that's not disputed, which means that this trial is really just going to focus on those last two elements. That Sunny's bar served Jessica alcohol when she was obviously intoxicated, and that as a result, she got into the car crash that killed her. And today we're going to show you that they knew it was dangerous, but they kept pouring drinks. Now, in order to do that, we're going to ask you to keep in mind three things: the alcohol, the actions, and the accident. Let's start with the alcohol, because today you're going to hear from Miss Marx's best friend who was there at the bar with her that night. And what you'll learn is that the defendant didn't just serve Miss Marx a few too many drinks. You'll learn that Miss Marx is about 5 feet tall, weighs about 115 pounds. But over the course of just a couple of hours, the defendant served her at least 8 drinks, mixed drinks, shots, a hard seltzer, and glass after glass of wine. Which brings us to Miss Marx's actions. Now, you'll learn today that after all of that alcohol, it was pretty obvious that she was stumbling, slurring her words, her eyes were bloodshot, and she wasn't making a lot of sense. And you'll hear that the defendant's staff knew about all of it. You'll hear that at one point, she actually fell into a bartender. The bartender told her she'd had too much to drink, that she needed to be cut off. You'll learn the drinks kept coming. And so finally, the accident. You'll hear today that Miss Marx told the staff at Sunny's bar that she planned to drive that night, and they didn't stop her. You'll hear how she walked out of that bar, got into the driver's seat of her car, and pulled onto the highway. Learn that within just a couple of blocks, Miss Marx swerved off the road and fell into a ditch. She didn't survive the impact. They knew it was dangerous, but they kept pouring drinks. That's why at the end of this trial, I'm going to get right back up here and ask that you find the defendant liable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And does the defense wish to give a statement at this time, or are you reserving until halfway through the trial?
No, Your Honor, I have a statement for right now.
Understood. Please proceed when ready.
May it please the court. A moment ago, Miss Love told you that my client knew it was dangerous, but kept pouring more drinks. You see, the plaintiff, they want you to believe that the tragic accident that happened to Jessica Marx is my client's fault. But the key word in what Miss Love told you a moment ago is that word knew. Because they have to prove to you that Sunny's bar knew that Jessica Marx was obviously intoxicated. They can't prove that to you today because you can't see what isn't there. And we'll get back to that, but first I want to take a step back and introduce you to somebody. Miss Mehta, could you come on the screen for us? Members of the jury, this is Sunny Mehta. She's the owner of Sunny's Rooftop Bar, and she's going to meet with you today. You can get off the screen now. She's going to talk to you about what happened on March 24th of 2019. She was Jess's server, and yes, she kept bringing out drinks. But there were no signs at all that Jess was actually intoxicated. Think about what you would look to see if somebody was intoxicated. Bloodshot eyes, slurred speech getting louder and louder and louder, none of that. was happening to Jessica Marx. So what the evidence is going to show to you today is that Sonny's bar couldn't see signs that weren't there in the first place. And it's the plaintiff's job today to prove to you otherwise. They were the ones who came to court today and accused Sonny's bar of causing a wrongful death. Look, I don't have to tell you, that is a serious allegation to make. And that's why the law requires them to prove it to you by a preponderance of the evidence. They have to prove to you that Jessica Marx was obviously intoxicated and that that was a substantial factor in why she died that night. They're not going to be able to prove that to you today. And I'm going to ask you to focus on 3 key questions as we work through the evidence together. First, can you rely on Morgan Levin? Second, what did the employees of Sonny's bar actually know? And third, whose decisions really caused this accident? So first, can you rely on Morgan Levin? You see, Morgan Levin, that's the plaintiff's only witness. They're going to ask you to rely on his testimony today, but here's the problem. You can't, because Morgan Levin, his credibility is going to be in question today. You're going to learn that he actually had more to drink that night than he wants you to believe. And as a result, you can't trust that he actually knows what he's talking about when he says that Jessica Marx was acting a specific way or not. Second, what did the employees of Sonny's bar know? For this, we're going to call Sonny Mehta to the stand. She's going to tell you what I told you a moment ago, that they had no idea that Jessica Marx was as drunk as she was. And so they had no reason to feel like they needed to cut her off. And last, whose decisions caused this accident? Members of the jury, this is the hardest question to ask, the hardest question that you're going to have to answer. Because what you're going to find out is that there was responsibility on Jessica Marx too. What this case is going to come down to is the fact that it was Jessica who made the decision to get behind the wheel that night and drive. That's why at the end of today's trial, when I speak to you again, I'm going to ask you to come to the only conclusion that you can, that the evidence supports and the law requires. I'm going to ask you to find Sonny's bar not liable for wrongful death. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And before the plaintiff calls its first witness, I'm going to direct everyone again to go to the top right-hand corner of your screen where it says view, and make sure you select gallery view now so that you can see multiple people on the screen, and to give everyone a moment to do that. Also, everyone that has ballots, there was a small issue earlier where it showed the contestants and the pairings from last round. Make sure you refresh, and you should have selected Love versus Gaskins at the top hand corner. I'm going to give everyone just a minute to fill in ballots, because I think we're supposed to score as we go. And in just a minute, we'll proceed. All right, it looks like everyone's ready to go. Does the plaintiff have a witness you'd like to call?
Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff calls Morgan Levin to the stand. May I proceed?
Yes, please.
Good afternoon. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Hello, my name is Morgan Levin.
What do you do for a living?
Nothing, I'm still in school. I'm a rising senior at UCLA, majoring in bio.
Do you know why you're here today?
Yeah. A few years ago, my best friend was visiting me over spring break. We went out one night and she ended up getting in a car crash. I guess I'm here to tell you about what I know about that.
Sir, I'm putting up what's been pre-marked as Exhibit 2 on the screen, constructively outside the presence of the jury. Mr. Levin, do you know who this is?
Yeah, that's my best friend, Jessica Marx. She's the one who done it.
Your Honor, the plaintiff moves Exhibit 2 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 2 is in evidence.
Mr. Levin, how did you meet Jessica?
We go way back. We went to elementary school, middle school, high school together. We met because our parents put us in the same preschool. My best friend in the whole world.
We can take that down now, Ms. Clark. Mr. Levin, I want to start at the beginning. When did that accident you mentioned occur?
Yeah, that was the night of March 24th, 2019.
Where did you go that night?
We went to a place called Sonny's Rooftop Bar. I'd never been there before, but it was a place my friends talked about being fun.
Now, did you have anything to drink that night?
Yeah, we were both drinking all evening.
Before we get into the details about what you remember, how much would you say that you personally drank?
Yeah, I had, I think, maybe 3 drinks. I had a glass of wine at the beginning, a beer in the middle, and a shot at the end. I don't drink a ton, so that's enough for me.
I'd like to talk about how much alcohol Ms. Marx had. Ms. Clark, can we put exhibits 11 through 16 on the screen? Again, constructively outside the presence of the jury. Mr. Levin, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, these are pictures I took that night. These are from my phone.
Do they appear to be fair and accurate?
Yeah, they look like it.
The plaintiff moves to enter exhibits 11 through 16 into evidence.
Any objection to any one of the exhibits?
No objections, Your Honor.
All right, the exhibits are admitted.
Sir, in all of these photos, who's that person sitting across from you?
Yeah, that's Jess. You can't see her head, but that's her.
I'd like to walk through what Miss Marx was drinking that night. Let's start with exhibit 11. Now, in this picture, she has a glass in her hand. Could you tell us what that is?
Sure. Yeah, we ordered a bottle of wine, red wine. That's, I think, the first glass.
Your Honor, permission to use a demonstrative aid to keep track of the drinks this witness states that Miss Marx had.
Are you asking to have these marked as an exhibit or so you can use it in closing and it will not be in evidence?
No, just as a demonstrative aid, not in evidence.
Is there any objection to using this as a demonstrative?
No objection at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, please proceed.
Your Honor, we'll continue with this demonstrative throughout the trial.
Please.
Ms. Clark, can we put up our chart to indicate that first drink? Sir, do you remember if the two of you finished that bottle of wine?
Yeah, we did.
Now, how many glasses did you personally have from that bottle?
So, like I said before, I just had one. Jessica had the others.
Do you know about how many other glasses that was besides the one we already talked about that she had?
Two or three. We finished the bottle and she had whatever wine wasn't in my glass. So I'm not exactly sure, but I think 2 or 3.
All right, we'll stay on the conservative side and we'll say 2. Ms. Clark, could you indicate that on our
Objection, counsel is testifying.
Maybe heard, Your Honor.
Yes.
I was just reiterating what the witness stated to clarify why we're putting 2 drinks onto the chart. He said 2 or 3, and we only added 2 to the chart.
I would tend to agree. Objection overruled.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, could we move on to Exhibit 14? And on this exhibit, Ms. Clark is going to highlight a can for you. Could you tell us what that can is?
Yeah, that's a White Claw. It's like a hard seltzer. Everybody in college drinks them.
And who drank that hard seltzer on that night?
That was Jessica. I never drink those. I don't like them.
How about the can that's next to that one, right behind it?
Yeah, that's another White Claw. Jess drank that too.
And then how about that glass with the straw in it? Who drank that? Or what's that, rather?
Yeah, that was a rum and Coke. Jessica ordered one.
How about the can and the glass that we haven't mentioned on the table?
Yeah, that's a beer, and that was actually mine. So that beer I poured into the glass and then I drank that.
All right, let's move to Exhibit 16 now. On this exhibit, we're going to highlight another one of those seltzer cans. First of all, is this the same can as the ones in the earlier picture, or is it a different one?
I'm not 100% sure. I definitely remember we ordered 3 of those White Claws, but I'm not sure if this is the third one or we ordered that after the picture was taken.
Well, you said there were 3 White Claws, and you said Jess drank the first 2. Who drank that third White Claw?
Yeah, that was Jessica too.
Now, after this point, do you remember Jess having anything else that night that isn't pictured here?
Yeah. What's not in the picture is that at the end of the night, we took a shot to close things out.
Sir, could you go ahead and count how many drinks are on this list over here?
Looks like 8 to me.
How long were you at that bar for?
It was like 9 to 12 about, so a little under 3 hours.
Thank you. Well, we can take that down now, Ms. Clark. I'd like to move on and talk about how Jess was acting during all of this. By the end of the evening, how would you describe Miss Marx's behavior?
Yeah, I mean, she was getting loud. She also started slurring her words. Her eyes kind of got bloodshot, like red. And she kept sort of wobbling when she tried to walk.
Now, while all of that was happening, was the staff at Sunny's bar around?
No, not every second. They were up on the rooftop area where we were. Most of the time, I think, talking to customers, passing out drinks. But we had to talk to them every time that we ordered.
Did the staff at Sunny's bar ever comment on Miss Marx's behavior?
Yeah, we met her. She said something twice, I think.
When was the first time?
So Jessica and I went downstairs to go to the restroom, and Jessica was kind of stumbling and falling over, and she tripped down the stairs, and she fell into the owner, who introduced herself as Sunny.
Do you remember what the owner said at that point?
Yeah, she said, looks like we need to cut this one off.
Well, did the owner cut Miss Marx off at that point?
No, she kept serving us drinks.
How about the second time the owner said something? When was that?
That was right before we left. We went down to the bar to get our last round.
What'd she say that time?
Yeah, she said, whoa, I hope this one's not driving.
The owner cut Miss Marx off at that point?
No, like I said, that was right before our last round, so we got shots after that.
And I'd like to move ahead and talk about the accident. Ms. Mark, could we get Exhibit 20 on the screen? And again, constructively outside the view of the jury. Sir, what is this?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a map of that area.
Is it fair and accurate?
It looks like it, yeah.
Your Honor, we move Exhibit 20 into evidence.
Is any objection to Exhibit 20?
We have no objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 20 is admitted.
Mr. Levin, where on this map is the bar you were at?
So we were at that purple marker where it says Sunny's.
You said earlier that your friend crashed that night. Do you know where on this map that happened?
Yeah, the yellow marker, that's right across the bridge. It couldn't have been more than a couple thousand feet.
Where were you when the crash happened?
I was in the car right behind. I was going back to my dorm, so I took an Uber, but we were still right behind Jessica when she started driving down the highway.
Thank you. I have nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
Very well. Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor.
Please proceed when ready.
Hello, Mr. Levin.
I'm in.
I want to start by talking about what you had to drink that night. You would recognize your bar tab if I were to show it to you today.
Yeah, the receipt? Yeah, I think I would.
I'm putting on the screen what has been pre-marked for identification as Exhibit 17. This is that bar tab, correct?
Yeah, that's my receipt. That's my name on the bottom.
It's a fair and accurate copy of the drinks you ordered that night, right?
Yeah, Jessica and I had the same tab, so these are the drinks we ordered.
Defense offers Exhibit 17 into evidence.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor, hearsay?
Response, counsel.
Yes, Your Honor, this falls under an exception to hearsay, Rule 807, the residual hearsay exception. May I be heard?
Yes, please.
The residual hearsay exception states that otherwise inadmissible hearsay can be admissible if we demonstrate that three things happen: that we provided notice to opposing counsel, that the document is trustworthy, and it's probative. So first, we already agreed that all notice requirements for this case have been met. Second, regarding trustworthiness, the witness just told us that this is a fair and accurate copy of that receipt. These are the drinks that were ordered. And last, the probative value of looking at this receipt and seeing those drinks is substantial in this case because it goes directly to what each person had to drink, which is what I'm going to go through on this cross-examination.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Yes, please.
Can I speak specifically to that last prong about how probative this actually is? Your Honor, this witness just went through and stated every single drink that was consumed that evening. And we have a good faith basis to believe that this receipt doesn't actually even include all the drinks that were present and that were consumed on that evening. According to the probative value is actually not substantial because it isn't representative of what was consumed.
May I respond to that?
Yes.
Miss Love just proved my point for me because on her direct examination, she went through all of the drinks, which shows that they have probative value, and I'm doing the same thing. So she can't in one breath say that it's not probative, but then use it to try and prove her case in the next.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
One last time, and then I'll rule.
That's actually not quite what I said. I said that this receipt's reflection of drinks isn't accurate to what was consumed. The drinks we just outlined included all of these drinks, as well as additional drinks that weren't even on this tab. It's the fact that this receipt itself doesn't outline exactly what was consumed that calls its probative value into question.
May I respond to that?
No, I'm ready to rule. Thank you, though. The arguments from both sides are very well taken. I'm going to admit Exhibit 17.
Yes, Your Honor.
Let's walk through the drinks that you had. You said on direct examination, you had a glass of that wine bottle at the top, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Then you had one of those two types of beers, correct?
Yep, that's
Then
true.
you said at the end of the night, you had one of those green tea shots.
Yeah, those are the three drinks that I had.
It's your testimony that everything else on this receipt is what your best friend, Jessica Marx, had to drink, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Including those 3 White Claws, right?
Yeah, Jessica drank those White Claws.
You didn't have a single one of those White Claws, right?
No, I don't like them.
Like you said on direct examination, you never drink White Claws. You don't like them, right?
Yeah, like I just said.
Mr. Kiley, could you put back up on the screen exhibits 11 through 16? They're already in evidence. These are those photographs that you took at the bar, right?
Yeah, that's all of them.
I want to focus on the one that you skipped on direct examination. Mr. Kiley, could you zoom in on exhibit 15? In this photograph, there is a White Claw in front of you, isn't there?
Yeah, it wasn't mine.
The White Claw is sitting in front of you, isn't it?
It is. It's a pretty small table, so we had to fit things where they fit. That's not my White Claw.
Let me break that down. You said you needed to fit things where they fit. Do you see that space on the right side of your wine glass?
Yes.
Mr. Levin, this White Claw, it's open, right?
I think it's open in that picture.
You said that it's not yours. It's sitting right next to the wine glass that's yours, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Now I want to go back to the overview of those 6 photographs. These
Sure.
are the photographs that you turned over to the police, right?
Yeah, there was an investigator. She actually had the same last name as you. She asked them for me.
There were 6 photographs that you didn't turn over to the investigator Gaskins, right?
Yeah, there were some photos that I had deleted that night. I don't remember doing that. But yeah, there were some pictures. You're right.
Well, let me pick up on what you just said. You said that there were some photographs that you deleted from that night.
Yeah, that's true.
Those photographs that you deleted from that night, they were taken at the same time that you were at the bar, right?
Yeah, that's right.
They were taken at the same time that these photographs on the screen were taken, right?
Yeah, at some point during the night.
You said that you don't remember what was in those photographs before you deleted them?
No, I can't remember why I deleted them.
So let's talk about what the bartenders knew about what was going on at your table. You mentioned on direct examination that your friend, she started to slur her words, right?
Yeah, towards the end of the night, she was slurring her words. She had bloodshot eyes, things like that.
We'll take those one by one. You never saw a specific instance where Jessica was slurring her words to the bartender, did you?
No, I can't remember one.
You never saw a specific instance where Jessica had bloodshot eyes when she was talking to the bartender, do you?
Yeah, you're right. I'm not sure.
You say that she was getting louder as the night went on, right?
Yeah, towards the end of the night, she started getting kind of rowdy.
You never saw her yell at the bartender, did you?
No, I didn't see that.
You never saw her tell the bartender, "I'm drunk," did you?
No, I didn't hear that.
You never saw her put her head on the table, did you?
No, she never did that either.
She never was vomiting in front of these bartenders, was she?
No, she didn't vomit that night.
She didn't even tell you that she was drunk, did she?
That's true. Yeah, she never said, "I'm drunk." You're right.
Now let's talk about what happened after you left the bar. You had a conversation with Jessica outside of the bar, right?
Yeah, I tried to get her to get in the Uber with me. But she wouldn't do it.
When you were trying to get her to get in that Uber with you, the bartenders weren't there, were they?
No, yeah, we were outside in the parking lot.
When you were trying to get her to get in that Uber with you, it was just you and Jessica in that moment, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So I want to talk about the choice that Jessica made. Jessica chose to get in her car, right?
Yeah, she was the one who drove.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Thank you. Is there any redirect?
No, Your Honor. The plaintiff rests its case in chief.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Levin. You may be excused. All right, before we take a short recess, does either side have any motion that they'd like to make outside of the presence of the jury? Constructive.
No, Your Honor.
Excellent. Okay. I'm not certain how much of a break we're allowed. What do the advocates suggest?
I have no preference. I invite Your Honor's discretion in this jurisdiction.
Let's say 5 minutes then.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we'll reconvene in 5. All right, in just one more minute, we'll be ready to get started. I just want to make sure that all of our judges are back with us.
Back right here. Very good trial so far.
Thank you, Mr. Ramos.
I am present.
I'm here.
Perfect.
Here as
All
well.
right.
Here as well.
With everyone present, I think we're ready to get started with the defense side of the case. Defense, would you like to call your first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, we call Sunny Mehta to the stand. Hello, could you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Sure. Hi, my name's Sunny Mehta.
What do you do for a living, Miss Mehta?
I'm a bit of an entrepreneur, I guess you could say. I've run a few businesses in my time, from bars to restaurants to coordinating events.
How did you get into that line of work?
Well, honestly, it started when I was young. I was always the kid on the block selling lemonade, even roped a couple of the other neighborhood kids into it. But, as I got older, I decided to pursue it, took a couple of classes, and here I am.
I do want to turn your attention over to this case. How
Okay.
did you get involved?
Well, my bar, Sonny's Rooftop Bar, we were told that we were being accused of the wrongful death of a girl who came in one night after she drove home and ended up crashing.
How did you come to know Jessica Marx?
Oh, I didn't know her personally, but she came into my bar one night.
Would you recognize a photograph of your bar if I were to show it to you today?
Of course, I don't actually own it anymore, but I remember what it looks like.
I'm putting on the screen what has been pre-marked for identification as Exhibit 8. Do you recognize what I've put on the screen?
Sure, that's the rooftop at the bar. Big tree in the middle, chairs, couches.
Is it a fair and accurate depiction of what it looked like on March 24?
It looks to be to me. There were some people there, but other than that, it looks the same.
Defense offers Exhibit 8 into evidence.
Any objection to the admission of Exhibit 8?
No, Your Honor.
Very well, Exhibit 8 is admitted.
I want to map out what was happening that night. Where was Jessica and Morgan sitting?
Let's see. They were in what looks from this angle, the bottom right corner of this photograph. They were sitting in a couch area towards the west side of the rooftop.
Does that box accurately represent where they were sitting?
Yes, ma'am, it seems to.
How did you interact with the two of them?
Well, I was their server that night. Took their orders, brought them their drinks, had conversation with them.
You mentioned that you were their server. I want to talk about your responsibilities as a server.
Sure.
What do you have to look out for when you're serving people alcohol?
Well, according to state law, when you have your liquor license, you are required to be keeping an eye out for signs of what's called obvious intoxication. So I look out for that, and if anyone were to display signs of that, and I thought they were drunk, I'd cut them off.
How do you determine whether someone is obviously intoxicated at your bar?
Objection, Your Honor. Improper legal conclusion may be heard.
Yes.
Obvious intoxication is a relevant legal standard in today's proceedings. This witness isn't a lawyer, and she isn't qualified to interpret that standard. So she can't make a conclusion for the jury about the meaning of the legal standard that is relevant.
May I respond to that?
Please.
I'm not asking this witness to come to any conclusion about what obvious intoxication actually means as a legal standard. But what is the crux of this case is what this witness's understanding of what obvious intoxication looks like. In order for this witness to testify as to whether they thought Jessica Marx was obviously intoxicated or not, we certainly need to hear what this witness thinks obvious intoxication is. I'm just asking about this witness's belief.
May be heard, Your Honor.
Your response.
In that case, we ask for a limiting instruction so the jury is aware that this isn't the actual standard and won't take it that way.
I'm inclined to give a limiting instruction. Defense, your response to that?
That's fine, Your Honor.
Okay. The jury is instructed that the use of the word obvious intoxication is only to be used for what this witness just testified she thinks it means. You're not to interpret it as any kind of legal conclusion. With that, please proceed. The objection is sustained in part, overruled in part.
What is your understanding of what obvious intoxication would mean for your customers?
Well, my understanding from what I learned from that certification was essentially obvious intoxication is that they seem a little bit too drunk. So we have a couple of signs that we keep an eye out for. And when we see those signs, we check in on the customer. And if they seem drunk, we would determine that they were obviously intoxicated.
Let's move to the evening of March 24th. Did you
Sure.
notice when Jessica Marx came into your bar, any signs that you just mentioned of intoxication?
No, I didn't see any of the signs.
As you were delivering drinks to her table, did you start noticing any signs of intoxication?
In Ms. Marx, no.
What about Morgan Levin?
I do remember Mr. Levin. Over the course of the night, he did seem to get a bit buzzed. That's what I saw, at least.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation may be heard.
Yes.
This witness can't testify that anyone other than herself was suffering from any level of intoxication. She just stated that she believed he was buzzed. That has to do with this witness's mindset. This witness could lay out symptoms she saw that led her to believe that, but she can't actually say that the witness was, or that the person she's speaking about rather was buzzed. That's speculative.
Defense, one response.
Yes, Your Honor, this witness can testify to things that are rationally based on her perception. And my next question was going to lay the foundation that made the witness think that that witness was buzzed.
Yes, the objection's overruled. I believe the statement was that she seemed a bit buzzed. Based on that, I think it is a rationally based perception. Please proceed.
Yes, Your Honor.
What made you think that Morgan Levin seemed buzzed?
Well, over the course of the evening, I noticed that he was a bit stumbly. He started over his words. He was having trouble maintaining focus when I spoke with him. At one point, when he was signing the receipt, his hand was shaking. These are just a couple of the telltale signs that I've been trained to see.
How did you react to Morgan Levin seeming buzzed?
Well, I checked in with Ms. Marx, asked if he was going to be driving. I was concerned.
How did Jessica Marx respond to that?
She reassured me that she would be the one behind the wheel on the way home.
You mentioned that she was going to drive home. Did you see them after she told you that?
I did, yes, as they left the bar.
What did you notice as they were leaving the bar?
Well, they were coming down the stairs from the rooftop and they came into the bar. I was behind the bar helping my bartender, and I noticed that, Mr. Levin was still stumbling and Ms. Marx was not.
I want to talk to you about some things that Morgan Levin said on his direct examination. Were you here for that?
Yes, I was. My camera's turned off, but I was listening.
Were you here when Morgan Levin said that Jessica Marx bumped into you on the way out?
I was here for that. I did hear him say that.
Did that ever happen?
No.
After you saw them walk out, what's the next thing that you remember?
Well, Ms. Marx said goodbye to my bartender and they left.
At any point on March 24th, 2019, did you see any signs that Jessica was intoxicated?
I didn't. I didn't see any signs from Ms. Marx.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Before I proceed with cross-examination, I would move to admit Exhibit 26. It's the deposition of an eyewitness by the name of Kendall Roitman. Mr. Roitman was subject to examination by both parties to this case, and pursuant to Stipulation 12, he is unavailable under the meaning of Rule 804.
Defense, any objection?
Your Honor, although the document does come in under that hearsay exception, that doesn't mean that every statement within that deposition comes in, because we have a good faith basis to believe that there are other evidentiary issues within that document of things that the witness said. So we ask that they don't move the whole deposition into evidence, because we need to see which lines they're referring to so we know if we have any other evidentiary objections.
Ms. Love, is it possible to be more precise about the sections that you want read into evidence, or any
Yes,
sections
Your
that you're
Honor.
willing to redact?
Yes, Your Honor. We're willing to redact several sections if opposing counsel would clarify specifically what sections you would like redacted.
Your Honor, this is a huge document. We'd have to spend a lot of time going through it.
Ms. Love, let me ask you this. Are you planning on reading in sections of this deposition?
Yes, Your Honor, I can go through those if that would help the court's time.
Let's take them one at a time. If you could identify the line numbers you'll be reading, and then we can take the objections piecemeal. I think that would be a more efficient use of the court's time.
Absolutely, Your Honor. First, we're going to read from page 4, specifically lines 4 through 8.
All right, and we'll assume for now that this is constructively outside the jury's presence.
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, any objection to this section?
No objection to this section, Your Honor.
Very well, please proceed.
And then additionally, page 6, lines 3 through 6. Or 3 through 7, rather. Or, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. Objection to line 7, as if to say, get a load of that girl. That's speculation.
Your Honor, we're prepared to constructively redact that section.
Very well. That line will be constructively redacted. Is there any other portion?
Nope, that's it, Your Honor.
Excellent. All right. Please proceed with your examination.
Yes. Good afternoon, Miss Mehta.
Hi there.
I want to start by talking about how much alcohol Miss Marx had to drink at your bar.
All right.
Ma'am, you know that Miss Marx got to your bar around 9 p.m., right?
Yes, I remember her arriving around that time.
And you know she left before midnight.
Sure.
Miss Marx was there for less than 3 hours.
Yes, it would seem so.
Ms. Clark, can we get Exhibit 22 on the screen? And Your Honor, this has been pre-admitted into evidence pursuant to Stipulation 11.
Understood.
Ms. Mehta, this is the autopsy report on Miss Marx. And according to this report, she was about 5 feet tall. Would you agree with that?
Yes, it says 20-year-old white female, 60 inches. I believe that means 5 feet.
It also says she only weighed about 115 pounds. Would you agree with that?
Objection calls for speculation.
Ma'am,
Your response?
I'm just asking this witness to state whether or not it says 115 pounds on the autopsy report of Jessica Parks's body.
Yes, the objection's overruled.
Ma'am, would you agree that it says she weighed only about 115 pounds?
Yes, it says that right there.
We can take that down. I want to talk about how many drinks you served this girl's team.
All right.
Ms. Clark, let's get Exhibit 17 on the screen now. Now, ma'am, on this receipt, there's a bottle of wine. You'd agree?
Yes, our decoy red. It's a blend of Merlot and a couple of red grapes.
There's at least a couple of drinks.
Yes, looks like it.
There are 3 cans of hard seltzer.
Sure. They're called
There's
white.
the draft beer.
That's right.
There's a can of beer.
Yes, there is. Both IPAs.
And there are 2 shots.
That's right.
And you'd agree this whole tab was only for 2 people, right?
There were 2 people sitting at the table.
You didn't see anyone other than Miss Marx and Mr. Levin drinking any of those drinks, did you?
Sure. Not while I was up at the rooftop.
And as far as you remember, Miss Marx was ordering at least as many drinks as her friend, Mr. Levin, right?
Yes, I remember when I came to take rounds, they would both order. So yes.
Then let's talk about Miss Marx's actions.
All right.
Now, told us on direct examination that you didn't think she seemed intoxicated. Isn't that right?
That's right. Throughout the night, I didn't see any signs for Ms. Marx being intoxicated.
Ms. Clark, can we get the portions of Exhibit 26 that we pre-admitted on the screen? Ma'am, this is a deposition from one of your customers at the bar that night. Let's go to page 4, lines 4 through 8. Please read along silently as I read aloud.
Okay.
Question. The woman in Exhibit 2, Jessica, how much did you see her drink that night? Answer. I wasn't counting. More than a couple drinks. Question. More than 5 drinks? Answer. Probably. Did I read that correctly?
I think so, yes.
Now let's go to page 6, lines 3 through 6.
Okay.
Ma'am, please read along silently as I read aloud again. Question. Did Sunny say anything to you about Jessica or her friend? Answer. Sunny didn't say anything to me about Jessica or her friend, but right after Sunny served them drinks and Jessica continued being loud, Sunny and I made eye contact. Did I read that correctly?
Looks like it.
We can take that down now. Now finally, ma'am, I want to talk about the accident. You know that Jessica Marx was planning on driving after she left your bar. Is that right?
That's right.
Now, you've driven down the highway outside your bar, haven't you?
Yes, it's the PCH.
You'd say it's a pretty easy road to drive, wouldn't you?
More or less, sure. It seems pretty straight to me when I drive it.
Right, it's completely straight, isn't it?
That's right. It goes along the coast.
There are plenty of lights at night.
Sure.
You've actually never seen an accident there before.
Personally, no.
Let's talk about why the accident happened this time. Could we get Exhibit 22 back, Miss Clark? And this time, let's zoom in on Miss Marx's blood alcohol content. Ma'am, you'd agree this says that her BAC was 0.16 by the time of the crash, right?
It says blood drawn at scene of accident contains 0.16. Yes.
That was her blood alcohol content after she left your bar.
I believe so.
Ma'am, she left her bar and then got immediately into this crash. You'd agree with that?
I know she crashed after she left the bar. I don't know the exact time. I'm sorry.
You know, she crashed very close to your bar, correct?
That's what I was told, yes.
And you'd agree that this was her blood alcohol content.
It says it here, so I think so.
Thank you. I have nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
Very well. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Mehta, I want to ask you a question about the deposition that you were just shown on cross-examination that said that Jessica was being loud. Just because someone is being loud, does that indicate to you that they're intoxicated?
Not loudness alone. No, we play music pretty loudly at the bar. So if someone's just being loud, to me, that doesn't indicate that they're, having too much to drink at that point.
Do you know how to interpret the blood alcohol content that you just saw on the screen?
I know what blood alcohol content is. I know what different beverages give in terms of blood alcohol content, but I mean, in terms of what causes it for an individual, obviously every person's tolerance is different. So, I mean, interpret, I don't think so.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Any recross in the scope of that redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Very well. Thank you very much, Ms. Mehta. You may be excused. All right. Does the defense have any further witnesses that you'd like to call?
No, Your Honor. At this time, I rest my case in chief.
Perfect. I'm going to give everyone a short break. Oh, actually, Before I do that, are there any motions that either side would like to make?
None from the plaintiff.
Not from us either, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm going to give everyone a short break. And then after that, we can begin closing statements.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to assume that that was enough time for everyone to get their ballots filled out for the examinations. Now I'd like to proceed to closing arguments, beginning with the plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor. Just one moment to adjust my camera.
Please take your time.
Little low still there. Excuse me. May it please the court. I want to start by walking through exactly how many drinks the defendant gave Jessica Marx on the night that she died. 1 shot, 1 Coke and rum, 1, 2, 3 glasses of wine, and another 1, 2, 3 hard seltzers. That's how much the defendant gave Miss Marx before letting her walk out the door and get into her car. They knew she was dangerous, but they kept pouring drinks. And that's why we brought a claim of wrongful death against the defendant. And all that means is that we had to prove to you that it was more likely than not that Jessica Marx was a minor, under 21 years old, and that the defendant caused her death by giving alcohol to her when she was obviously intoxicated. Now, you might be wondering, what does it mean to be obviously intoxicated? Well, really, it's sort of just like it sounds. It means that Jessica was acting in a way that would make a reasonable person conclude that she was drunk. Now, both parties agree that Jessica was a minor. So what we had to show you was that the defendant served Jessica alcohol while she was obviously intoxicated, and that her being served alcohol ultimately was a substantial factor in her death. And we proved both of those things to you today when we showed you the alcohol, the actions, and the accident. Let's start with the alcohol. You see, you heard a whole lot about how much Jessica had to drink that night from her best friend, Mr. Levin. You heard how she had wine and rum and shots and seltzer. You saw photographs of the drinks piled in front of the table of Jessica and Mr. Levin. You heard how Jessica was only 5 feet tall, weighed 115 pounds, but the bartenders at Sonny's provided her with drink after drink after drink on the night of her death. And that brings me to that second thing we told you about, the actions. Because when that petite girl had 8 drinks over the course of just a few hours, well, it started to show. Her actions throughout the night confirmed what we already know. She was drunk, and anyone around her could see it. You heard from Mr. Levin how her eyes were bloodshot, that her speech was loud and sure. And Mr. Levin told you how Jessica stumbled down the steps right in front of the bar's owner, that the owner actually said to them, "It looks like we need to cut this one off." But did they stop serving her drinks then? No. You were out later on in the night. The owner said, "I hope this one isn't driving." And again, did they stop serving her? No. Members of the jury, you heard that bar served Jessica 8 different drinks throughout the night. She got more drunk with each one. Did they cut her off a single time? No. They knew she was drunk. They knew she was driving. They just kept pouring drinks. So then we get to that third thing we told you about. The accident. Because it didn't take long for all of that alcohol to have its effects. Members of the jury, you heard how just moments after getting into her car, on a perfectly clear night on a road that was straight and well lit, just 1,000 feet from Sonny's bar, Jessica Marx crashed her car off a bridge and died. She died with a blood alcohol content over twice the legal limit. The alcohol she had at Sonny's was a substantial factor in her death. They knew she was dangerous, but they kept pouring drinks. Now, than most, because usually only the plaintiff has a burden. But in this case, the defense actually has one too. See, the defense is arguing that Jessica's death was caused by her own negligence. In other words, they're trying to blame Jessica. They want you to think that just because Jessica made a mistake, that because she drove drunk, that this is entirely her fault. Members of the jury, that's just not how the law works. In the state of California, if a bar serves a minor who is obviously intoxicated, and that alcohol is a substantial factor in their death, well, that bar is liable. Don't let them try and point the finger at a 19-year-old girl when their actions led to her death. And don't let them try and distract you by telling you that it was really Morgan Levin who had all those drinks. Members of the jury, Mr. Levin told you exactly what he consumed today. Ms. Gaskins tried to claim that he was lying because of the position of a can on a very small table. Members of the jury, don't let them confuse you. Don't let them blame Jessica when they knew she was dangerous and they kept pouring drinks. We ask that you find the defendant liable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Defense, closing statement.
Yes, Your Honor. May it please the court. When Miss Love tells you that my client knew it was dangerous and kept pouring drinks, ask yourself, says who? Because I told you at the beginning of today's trial, they had to prove to you that my client knew that Jessica was obviously intoxicated. Keyword, knew. But then a moment ago on her cross-examination, she couldn't prove that. She talked to the server, asked a bunch of questions about what she knew, and every time Miss Mehta said, I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. You can't just take Miss Love's word for it. They had a burden of proof. But when you look at the evidence, members of the jury, one thing holds up clear. You can't see what isn't there. And it was the plaintiff's job today to prove to you that something was there to see. They accused Sonny's bar of wrongful death, causing the death of a 19-year-old child. That's horrible. That's a serious allegation. The law required them to prove it to you by a preponderance of the evidence. They had 4 elements, if you could put them on the screen. We agreed with the first 2 elements, but they had to prove to you these last 2 that you got to focus on as we go through this closing. First, they had to prove to you that Sonny's bar served alcohol to Jessica Marx when she was obviously intoxicated and last. They had to prove to you that Sonny's rooftop bar serving that alcohol was a substantial factor in Jessica's death. And Ms. Love mentioned a moment ago that we have a burden too. So if you were to find that they met their burden, then there's a third question that you have to ask. We're confident you won't get there, but you do have to consider whose choices led to that accident if Jessica was negligent too. But let's go back to those 3 questions that I asked you to focus on in opening statements. First, can you trust Morgan Levin? Second, what did the employees of Sonny's bar actually know? And third, whose decisions really caused this accident? So first, let's talk about that first one. Can you rely on Morgan Levin? Because in order for the plaintiff to be able to prove their case to you today, you had to believe what their witness told you about how Jessica was acting. Everything Ms. Love said a moment ago, that she was showing these symptoms and signs of being intoxicated, but members of the jury, that didn't hold up. Because on direct examination, I asked my witness, out of the 2 people that you were serving at that table, you had Morgan, you had Jessica, who seemed buzzed? Morgan. Out of the 2 people at that table, who was slurring their words? That was Morgan too. Who was showing these signs of intoxication? That was Morgan, because members of the jury, Morgan can't be trusted. I told you at the beginning of today's trial that his credibility would be in question because he's trying to make it seem like he didn't drink as much as he did. Because the less that he drinks, the more it looks like Jessica drinks, and that helps their case. But members of the jury, the credibility of this witness was corroborated on my cross-examination. Ms. Love said a moment ago, oh, it wasn't a big deal that he lied to your face. On cross-examination, yes, it was. He swore up and down, I don't like White Claws, I don't drink those, I don't like hard seltzers. But then I asked him about those photographs. If you put those photographs back up on the screen. Okay. Well, then why is there a White Claw sitting right in front of you open next to your glass of wine? Oh, yeah, it's there. Members of the jury, that was his White Claw. Think to yourself, how many more drinks did this guy have on that tab? And not to mention what Ms. Love didn't talk about a moment ago. These are just 6 photos that he turned over to the police, but he's hiding 6 more. He took 6 photographs. Where are they? He deleted them of that night. Think about it. What would we know if Morgan Levin wasn't hiding those photographs? Could there be a photograph of Jess's face? Could we see those bloodshot eyes maybe? Could we see how much Morgan actually had to drink that night? You don't know. And that brings me to my next point. What did Sonny's bar actually know? Because they had to prove that Jessica was obviously intoxicated. But let's take it back to my direct examination. When we asked Sonny's bar, were her eyes bloodshot? No. Was her speech slurred? No. Was she tripping? No. Did she actually fall down the steps like they said? No. So they're just asking you to take their word for it? And Ms. Love, she's basing her case on that BAC number, that 0.16. What does that even mean? Members of the jury, where is the expert testimony? Where is the science? You have no idea what 0.16 actually shows up to, because the issue in this case is not how many drinks Jessica had. It is what she looked like. If you could put that demo back up on the screen for me, Mr. Kiley. You see, Ms. Love wants you to look at this demo and think, oh, this proves their case, but they're asking you to make a leap in logic. They want you to see these drinks, a high number of drinks, and think, oh, well, she must have looked intoxicated. Members of the jury, that's not how this works. Just because someone has had a lot to drink doesn't mean they look like they had a lot to drink. That's not good enough. Think about the evidence that you would have needed to see for them to prove to you that she actually looked intoxicated. Where are the photographs of what she looked like? Where are the videos of what she looked like? Where's the testimony from anybody at Sunny's bar about what this woman looked like that night? You have nothing to go off of, just a number of drinks, and that's not good enough. That brings me to my last point. Let's talk about whose decisions actually caused this accident. This is the hardest question to ask, the hardest question that you're going to have to answer. But what this case comes down to is just one moment where the bartenders weren't there, one moment where Jessica had to make a very adult decision at just 19 years old. She decided to get behind the wheel. She decided to drive. That's why I'm going to ask you to come to the only conclusion that you can. Find Sunny's bar not liable because you can't see what isn't there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And is there any rebuttal from the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Please.
Ms. Gaskins just told you that Sunny's bar couldn't see what isn't there. Now, she's basing all of that on the testimony of Sunny's bar's owner, the one with a whole lot on the line today. And of course, the owner of Sunny's bar told you that she couldn't see anything. She told you that Jessica didn't look drunk at all. So then let's talk about what we know was there. We know Jessica weighed 115 pounds. We know Jessica had 8 drinks in under 3 hours. We know her blood alcohol content was high when she crashed that car. We're not asking for any leap in logic. We're asking you to use your common sense. A small girl, 8 drinks, testimony that she slurred and stumbled and struggled to speak. She looked drunk. She was drunk. And Sunny's bar could see it. Find them liable. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a fantastic trial on the part of both advocates. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a break so that all of the scoring judges can fill out their ballots. Scoring judges, if you could please just turn your camera on when you're finished scoring your ballots. That way I can confirm that everyone is ready to go.
All right, I'm good.
Ready when you are, Your Honor.
It appears I'm the slowest among everyone. All right, let me make sure. Actually, I think we're still waiting on Bill. Take your time, Bill, if you can hear us.
It just take me another 1 second or two here.
Not a problem at all.
We're just waiting on 2 more ballots, and I'll give you the okay when we have them all. One more ballot.
Nice cat.
She actually judged the round. I didn't. I made no decisions. She typed the comments. Hey, hi, Ramona.
Okay,
All
my
right, we're all
ballot is in.
Yeah, we're all set to begin comments.
All right, perfect. Let's go around and introduce ourselves, and then we've been instructed just to give 1 comment per advocate. That way we can get them on to their second round, which is coming up.